Alrighty, guys. Bobby Roast Beef here. Jigs and freaking Bigs. Another episode right now. 2025 fishing season has. We kicked it off last weekend, but like locally here in Western Massachusetts, it is a go. We're gonna be talking about that kind of stuff. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Couple of things. We actually have a double just the tip for you today. One of those involving traveling. When you're on the road and you're traveling, let's give you some ideas on how you can extend your stay on the cheap just a little bit. We'll talk about all that. It's good stuff you want to know about. We're also kicking off what could be a brand new, segment here on the show. We need a name for it. So we're going to be reaching out to the Jigs and Bigs listeners to give us some ideas on what you think, specifically the jig heads. If you guys are in here, want to throw in some suggestions, we'll go ahead and get to it, guys. All kinds of good stuff that you do not want to miss out on. It's a quick show this week, but we've got lots to talk about. Let's go ahead and do it, guys. Jigs and Bigs goodness starting up right after this. It is Sunday afternoon as we record this, and I'll tell you what it does. It feels nice to be doing this on a Sunday right here. And you know who can agree with us is Pat Martin. Pat Martin's in the chat right now. Yep. He says, "Good afternoon, fellas." He says, "By the time I get out of work on Mondays, you guys are done with the show," which is just a tragedy right there, to be perfectly honest. When you're in Pat Martin's business of just, it's tough to be the ginger chode. It really is. The hours are crazy, and it's always a grind. Hopefully, Pat is getting on the water now because it's go time. And out in his area in Rhode Island, he should have open water with no issue whatsoever. I would think so. Yeah. I would think so. He's probably been able to access it, regardless of availability or anything like that, and able to make things happen. Joe, how are you doing, dude?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm loving this, like the mild weather, that little tease of, what's to come.
Oh, yeah.
I love it, dude. I love it.
Are you getting a little bit of rain out your way? Right now?
Today we have been. Yeah, it's like weird. It's like drizzly.
Yeah, it's like and there's parts of the country right now that are getting hammered with winter weather, and we are not that part of the country. No. Oh no. Today it is like in the 60s right now. It's muggy. It's actually like muggy outside.
Yeah, with all that moisture in the air. Oh yeah,
absolutely. And it's like it's kind of crazy. I'm not mad at it. We have the clocks changed, so we got more daylight in the evening now. And we've got temperatures are on the uptick. Things are going on. We have, I managed to give it a send. I wish, and I was really, really jacked about just putting together a YouTube video, a fishing YouTube video, like just going out for the day and sending it. So why don't I jump in? I'll go ahead and talk about that portion of my week, and then I'll catch you guys up on some of the other stuff I've been doing. So I had gone out on Saturday, and I had, it was one of these things where I had my buddy Paul and we were planning on just sending it one day, and I think he actually took Friday off and Monday. For what reason I don't 100% know, but he did. And the thing is I think he was expecting that like I'd be able to do a Cape trip on one of those days, and there's no way. There's just no way. Just because I've got school drop off and pick up. And just that alone right there, it's like by the time we get there, we fish for 15 minutes, turn around and come home. You know what I mean? Like it's just, there's just no way to be able to make it happen. Though I do think I'm going to send it out to the Cape potentially next Saturday. I'm going to have to play it by ear and see what this scoop is. So I had, I was like, I want to get out this weekend. He was up in the air whether he was going to be able to make it or anything. And I had Thursday night, I left a little bit early for trivia that night. And I said, I'm going to take a ride down to another launch on the Connecticut because the Oxbow ramp at this point had still been shut down. And I had done a live earlier in the week. I was on Instagram Live just chatting with people after dropping off my daughter. I think it was on Wednesday. And I took a ride out to Ware in Belchertown to look at the Swift River ramp. And actually, if you go and you look on the Instagram, on the Jigs and Bigs Instagram profile, I did share it as it's a huge reel. I probably talked for about 40 something minutes. It's ridiculous. And I dropped a little bit of nugget of some stuff that is coming from Bobby Roast Beef and the Jigs and Bigs collective, some stuff that I'm working on. But I actually reversed the camera to show. I pulled right up to the ramp, and right where the ramp goes into the water, it's just this big sheet of ice until have you ever launched a boat over at that launch?
I have not.
At the Swift? No. So there's like a little cove that kind of comes off of like what would be the main river. And it actually works out really nice because you don't get that same current in there, obviously, because this is all ice. And there's a giant rock like somebody had thrown out there trying to break it up, and it was just like, nope. So I'm like, you have got to be kidding me, dude. I'll bet you it's probably fine now or will be within a few days. The rain is going to help a lot to melt a lot of the shit. So I was like, I had gone there and I was like, well, maybe we'll do a trout send. And I'm like, nope, definitely not going to be able to do a trout send. And my intention was I'm going to send it on the bank on Saturday. I'm just going to do that. So I said, let's go ahead and take a look. And it crossed my mind. I was like, wait a minute, there's another launch. And I'm like, I know that the main river is open. Let's check the Chicopee launch. So I took a ride down there and I looked, and there's no gate. It's wide open. And I'm like, looks like I'm sending it on Saturday. So I immediately was just stoked all day Friday. Like, I'm just like, this is awesome. Turns out Paul couldn't make it. I'm like, I'm just going.
Yeah.
You know? So let's walk through that day there. I had gone out and I did record a bunch of stuff for video. I am going to post it just to get something out there. So it was kind of interesting. I rolled up. I waited until about like 8:30 in the morning to leave, only because I'm like, I just want the sun to get up, things to kind of get warming, because the water has got to be, even without electronics, I would say it's probably like 35 to like 38, maybe 39 degrees.
Yeah.
When I did just feeling the water, it didn't seem like it was so ice cold. I had no issues with obviously the temp was in the 40s when I left. So I had no issues with ice or anything on the guides or anything. I roll down up to the ramp, and what do I see but 2 sheriff's department boats ready to launch and 5 other cruisers right down there. And I'm like, what the actual fuck happened? And legitimately, I thought that there was a body in there because 'tis the season. You know,
the season.
It really is. That water is high. It is moving. And I'm like, Jesus, this is just absolutely wild. I'm like, what's going on? So I parked the setup, and I'm like, I got some rigging to do anyway. Totally knew I had stuff that I needed to do. I needed to dig out SD cards to get my cameras ready because I was going to go and roll. I had the drone. Yeah. Everything is all set. It was cloudy when I launched. It was, like I said, it was probably about 42, 43 degrees at the time that I launched. It got warmer. We actually got a little bit of sunlight later in the day. And then, so I'm rigging all my stuff, and I go and I ask, all these officers, I'm like, hey, is it cool if I fish? There was another truck with a boat trailer that was parked on the opposite end, and they had already been out. So it was like, I don't know if that's somebody that they've contracted for something or whatever. So I'm like, I'm going to go double check and make sure it's cool. And I told them, I was like, I've got a bunch of stuff to rig. Go ahead and do your thing, whatever you got to do. So they're like, all right, cool, no sweat. So they get one of the boats out there. I get out there, and I'll tell you, rigging or launching on this ramp is kind of weird because the current does something. First off, like I said, the water's high and it's cranking in the main river. But this is sort of offset to the side where there's a tiny little point that comes out and it's facing downriver. And it's almost like there's this reverse current that comes up along that bank. And I launched the boat. First off, I have 2 pairs of boots that I wear when I'm fishing cold water. One of them is the old Honeywell service boots that I have. They go like 3/4 up the calf. They're pretty high. They're really rigid. The other ones are more like a deck style boot that's got some neoprene, so there's a little bit more motion. Those are way better to drive in if I've got to drive or something. And when I went to Jersey, I left the service boots in the boat. I just left them in there, and not even thinking of it. When I took the cover off to get ready for this last time, when I went out to the Cape last week, there were like 3 inches of water inside these boats, inside these boots. So I dumped those out, and they're not quite dry. Like I've just left them in the truck. I'm gonna actually bring them in and like dry them properly and stuff. But I had this other pair of boots, these deck boots, and they work great. And when I was at the Cape, I was amazed. I was like, maybe I don't need boots that are so high. Wrong. You do need boots that are so high. So I had, my bottom step, my Omega boat steps, was like just hovering above the water. And I'm like, okay, so I could jump over to it and climb up. I'm like, we'll see what we got to do. But I had to back down so far to get it off of the trailer. And keep in mind, yes, I still had the strap hooked to it. So I was good. And I'm like, this is going to be a mess. I got water in the boot. And I'm like, I'm going to grab my rope. I'm going to pull the boat out. I'm going to grab my rope. Well, of course, I haven't used my rope in months. And it's all just knotted up and just crazy. So I have to get a better. I'm actually in the market looking for a rope that I can hook to the eye and then hook also to where I put my chains on my trailer to go ahead and launch it, to be able to launch it solo. And I'm looking for something that doesn't like, I'm just using a straight up like nylon rope. And it is just, it's the worst. It hooks up on all kinds of things. It hooks up on itself all the time. And I'm just like, all right, but this is what I got. So I managed to get the boat out, launch the boat, head out. Now what's cool is this area, like I said, the water levels are crazy high, as is the Chicopee River, which is right over there. Dude, I tested the limits of where I could put that boat in sketchy places more than I ever have back there. And I couldn't believe some of the spots I was in. Could not believe it. Like as soon as I was like, okay, my trolling motor is like hitting like something, we're backing off and we're going and everything. But I'm like, I pushed it so much further than I expected. I went way further up the Chicopee River than I expected to. Like crazy, crazy high. And normally, like I've fished that spot before, but it's generally the water level is way lower, and it's always been by the bank, so accessing like some of these little pockets were kind of nuts. So I was in there.
So you were at the shit plant.
I was at the shit plant.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I was at the shit plant. Yes.
All right. I was thinking you were somewhere else. Okay.
The shit plant.
Interesting. That's a tough launch, dude, with that current.
Dude, that sucks. With that water that high, it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. Wait till I tell you about when I went to go fish the fucking bridge. Jesus Christ. Okay. So I go over and I'm like, all right, let's fucking send it. We send it. I'm back there and I can't buy a bite anywhere. I fished all over the place, but I'm like, I'm just amazed and I'm loving it. Birds are chirping, like nature's happening. People are walking on the fucking the bike trail that's back there and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's awesome. There's fucking needles on the bank everywhere. There's fucking, it's like, it reminded me of
Pickle fucking Park is what it reminded me of.
Because everybody's heard that story from the Catch podcast, and yeah, it's scary. So, we're out there. There's other boats, that are fishing like the mouth of the Chicopee going into the Connecticut River. And, I'm just talking with folks. Everybody's kind of struggling over there. The real piece of structure I wanted to fish was the I-90 bridge that went over. Yep. That was really sort of my target. But I was like, I saw that the water was up so high, and I'm like, well, let's go start there and work our way up to it. And when I saw how high it was and how far I could go back, I was like, this is a time of year. Like, I've got to take a shot and go for it. So what was I throwing? Bass Dope Baby A-Rig, right? With some 3-inch swim baits on there. Yep. I was throwing, there was a lot of wood back there, a whole lot of wood. So to do double duty, I put on a swim jig with like a big paddle tail swim bait on the back of it. This way I had like throwing like a moving bait, or I could chuck it into that wood, into that slop and see what got hammered. Nothing got hammered there. I switched up tactics a little bit to further up in the Chicopee River, where I thought I could have swore something hit the surface. So I made a few casts with that swim jig, and then I said, I'm going to downsize it. So I just happened to have on my BFS an 1/8 ounce pig jigs, one of those finesse bladed jigs, the ulated jig. Yep. Threw that up there a couple of times, nothing. I was like, okay, no sweat. Changed out the presentation a little bit, tried out a few things that I just wanted to try just for shits and giggles, because again, was not finding any fish.
Right.
I ended up going back in there after fishing that bridge, because the bridge was just insanity. I ended up going back there and figured I was going to downsize significantly, and I did. I had a drop shot going for a little while. I had other BFS, ultralight type baits that I was throwing, keeping things really, really downsized and everything, just not a nibble. So I go the first time I was in the smaller river, I come back out to the main river into the Connecticut, and I go back up, and I decide, I was like, you know what? I'm like, this current's so crazy. I go, I'm not even going to try fishing up here. I know this structure. I've been looking at the map, and I kind of know, like on those pylons, like what I want to hit. So I'm like, we'll motor right up there. We'll get up there. Now at this point, I'm seeing the sheriff's boats zipping up and down the river. And I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, I still don't know. If you know.
Yeah.
Hey, if we have a listener that works for the sheriff's department, you want me to keep, I don't know. Like, it is the fucking season. The whole time I'm like, are they looking for a body? Like, are they just covering water to find something? Yeah. And they got the lights going and shit. I was like, wow, that's fucking wild. Okay. It's all good. So I'm up in front of these pylons, and like, obviously, like I've done this enough with my boat to know, don't fucking count on spot lock to work under a bridge. Like, just don't count on it. Mm-hmm. And especially in that kind of current, it's sketchy, because all of a sudden you lose your spot and you're drifting wherever it wants to go. And also my trolling motor, and I don't know if this is a remote issue or if it's the trolling motor, but my trolling motor apparently likes to just take a break. And I don't mean like stop spinning, but just stop communicating with the remote. So like, I'll be like, oh shit, I have to switch from like whatever speed I'm on to like, full speed to like just get moving or scoot out of whatever spot. Or I might be getting close to like something crazy and I want to turn the head so I can push off. And it'll just fucking take a break. And I'm swearing at the thing. I'm like, you motherfucker. It's just fucking, oh, you son of a bitch, fuck you. And finally it fucking kicks on. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. And so I got to talk with John at JCS and figure out if that's something he's ever run into before. And maybe, because there is a remote upgrade I could make. I don't necessarily want to do it because it's a little bit larger of a remote with like a screen and shit, and I don't need that.
That's the one that came to mind.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to fucking do that.
It's like a fucking iPad. Dude.
It is. It's huge. It's like you buy one of these like really high end televisions, and you're like, you can adjust the contrast on the screen down the street type thing. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I'm like, okay, all right, that's good. Let's see what happens. So I get over to this one spot, and I want to go like between the pylon closest to the west side of the bank and the and the bank. It's super skinny, like crazy skinny. So what I did was I went downriver and I was casting up river and then dragging my baits through.
Okay,
that's where I lost the A-rig.
Oh no!
That's I have 5 more. Do not worry.
That's right.
I stocked up from Dark Horse Tackle. I was like, after I lost that first one, I'm like, this has paid off really well, and I don't want to be unprepared. So I'm probably going to be doing more with them. So I'm like, everything's cool. I'm doing my thing, and so this is where I like that whole remote and motor issue was giving me that much of an issue. I was like, fuck, it's skinny in here, dude. And I'm like, if it quits, I could easily hit this pylon. It could be bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, luckily everything worked out. I was like, so then I made the mistake of going upriver and thinking I could just drift under that next pylon and Nope, that was not a good idea. I got out to the downriver side and I was like, I'm just going to park myself in front of the pylon so I can get that slack water, and I'm going to start casting it. What was I throwing over there? I think I was throwing a finesse swim bait after I lost the A-rig. I tied on a finesse swim bait. The jig head I had, unfortunately, was only a 1/4 ounce, which was just no good because I was just burning it back to me just to keep the line from being slack. It was crazy. So I'm like, what can I do here? So I grabbed my jig rod, and my swim jig I was throwing was a 1/2 ounce. Dude, that was too light. That's how fast this fucking current was moving.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it.
I was like, all right, we're pulling out the big guns. I cut that off. I grabbed one of my big 3/4 ounce tungsten swabble head jigs, and I put on a Kitech on there, and I just whipped this sucker up there. And it was like I was hitting bottom, which for the first time I was hitting bottom, able to count rocks and everything. And I was like, okay, this is good. If there are fish here and they're relating to the bottom, then great. And if they're not, then I can swim this a little bit faster, but keep it deep enough, you know. And that seemed to work pretty good. I fished every single pylon from every single angle, fishing upriver. Where it was like safe to do so. It was actually pretty fucking cool, dude. I was on like the second one from the west to the east, and I'm on the second one. I'm making casts, and that sheriff's boat comes zipping down with the lights on and shit. Like they saw me, I gave them a little salute, and they're like, "Ah, nice." So I'm doing my thing. Not a single bite. I fished every single one. I was like, "Do I want to call this?" Or I was like, "No, I don't want to call this. Let's go back to the Chicopee River, get up in there further back and see what we can put together." I fished the shit out of that thing. I talked to a dude in a blue Crestliner on the way out, and I was like, have you had any luck? Because he was married to one spot all day. When I went up in there, I was the only one. Then I saw like a small John boat come up and fish the mouth, and they were hung there. When I went back out, not only were they still there, but that other Crestliner was there, and he didn't move. That whole time I was fishing the bridge, he didn't move at all. And he's coming in further into the Chicopee River as I was on my way out, and I was like, "You catch anything?" I was like, "You get any bites?" He's like, "Nothing." And I'm like, I'm like, wow, what in the world were you doing holding that spot that whole time if it wasn't producing? I'm like, he's bullshitting.
I was going to say, he must have been bullshitting.
He's bullshitting because there's no way. Like, that is just way too fucking specific of a spot to like not to sit on that entire time.
Yep.
That's just too good. I mean, obviously, looking at the map, like the structure's fucking beautiful. There's a nice drop off right there. Yeah. It's everything that you want. You've got the mouth of another river meeting another river. Like it's a fucking golden corral, essentially, of bait, really. So yeah, I could not get a bite, but it was fantastic to get out and go and do our stuff. The other thing about Saturday that was cool was my youngest daughter turned 15 on Saturday.
That's awesome.
That was her birthday, and she wanted to go out for hot pot. And I know on the show we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
This is off the rails a little bit, but I had so you know, we talked about this on the show before, and it was good. It was great. It always is. But I'm like, it blows my mind that I dropped over $200 on dinner
where we cooked our own meals.
It just blows my mind. But again, like it's her birthday. Like that's what she wanted to do. I'm all for it. That's not a problem. She is so excited. My wife got her tickets to go see Hosier. You're familiar?
I am.
All right. Okay. Because there's some people like, who? And I'm like, Irish guy sings that song, Take Me to Church, and like a whole slew of other stuff.
Yeah. Emma loves them.
And my wife, I think, was a little bit, I think her feelings were hurt a little bit when Delaney said, she goes, "Oh, I want to bring Chloe," which is great because like, but Holly and Ace are like, that's Holly's mini me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they go see concerts and stuff all the time, but she's like, I know Chloe would really enjoy this. I know she would, and they're both stoked. So I'll tell you, I ordered a drink while I was at the hot pot spot, and Holly pointed it out to me right away. She's like, "What the fuck is this?" Because the ingredients weren't listed. It was just the specialty cocktails.
Yeah, of course.
It was called the
Springfield Narcotic.
Stop it.
No bullshit, dude. It's Springfield Narcotic. And it was pretty much like coconut. It was the perfect like sorority girl drink ever.
Right,
it was like
right.
3 different juices with like coconut rum. And I'm like, all right, cool. It was so sweet and ridiculous. I'm like, I got to try it. I'm like, it doesn't say.
Yeah.
So the waitress even told me what it is. I'm like, I'm committed. Let's just do it. I was just, I did. I felt like a 22-year-old girl is what I felt like.
That's awesome.
That drink. What? Hold on. John Hagen goes, Hosier Fishing Hole is in my playlist rotation. Really? I see. I'm gonna have to do a deep dive here because both of my kids swear up and down that he is like the fucking Elvis Presley of their generation.
He's got a good voice.
He's got a great voice. He really does. You know, I kind of feel like in a way like 30, 40 years from now, like when I'm fucking in the ground, like my kids it'll be like their Van Morrison. And I say that because he's Irish too, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm like, it'll kind of be like that. I don't know. It's just kind of, he has great music. Yeah. Great stuff. But it's just freaking wild, man. We had a good time. So that was Saturday. And now during the week this week, I had tinkered around with a couple of things. So I've been, again, like trying to expand my business. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the lives I've done while I've been in the truck. Like commuting back and forth.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Have you ever heard like the rattling in the back, gear rattling around?
That's so funny. I have.
I fucking hate it. I hate it. So
that is like one of my biggest pet peeves on the planet. Like one of mine was this year, and not to cut you off from your story, like in between my bed and my cab, if there was like a piece of ice or something that froze, it would just do the squeaking sound. It just pissed me off so much.
100%.
Yep.
So I'm like, I've just had it. You know, I'm like, I've been using it. So what I use when I do trivia in bars and restaurants is I use, they call it an X stand. It's like for keyboards. You know?
Yep.
And thing works out great. It's super heavy duty. It's by Gator. I love the thing. If anybody is in need of a stand like that, I'll get you the model number and shit because it's fucking great and it's still holding strong. But I was like, I want to mix it up. I need something that's foldable and portable. Right. And not like a full on table because that's just going to be crazy. I do have that 4-foot table like we've used for the live shows and things. Mm-hmm. And I came up with this thing. I was like, and this is like old school, like DJ gear. And Odyssey, the same company that makes the case that I use for production and everything when I'm out. They make it's basically a folding DJ booth, you know, where it folds up to a square, right? And the two sides, they have the same kind of latches on my gear and the same kind of like rails that are set up. So I go and I open this up and then underneath there's a shelf that you can pull up and it'll add rigidity to the sides, but it also lets you store like cables or whatever you need to store under there. And then the tabletop flips up. These two arms flip up on these brackets that lock, and then you flip the table open like this, and it'll hold everything else. The whole console, everything holds up to 100 pounds.
Okay.
I'm like, this is cool. This is great. So I'm like, I'm doing it. It wasn't cheap. It was probably the most expensive table I've ever bought. But I'm like, this thing's going to be awesome. No bullshit. I think I ordered this on Tuesday. I think I ordered it Tuesday night when I got home from work. And I got into the house. Wednesday afternoon it showed up. It was awesome. I'm stoked. I bring it. What's nice is because this thing folds flat, I can put it in my truck and put all my other gear on top of it. So it's silent. It's so nice. I'm like, this is so perfect. I go to Nathan Bill's, right? For my Wednesday night event. Nathan Bill's has these two like single doors in a small vestibule in the middle. And I go in, I open one door, I get in the vestibule, I have to turn the cart one way, open the other door, pop everything right in. With the old stand, I would angle it on there where it acted like a set of handlebars. So I could just push it that way. And I think some of our listeners may have actually seen me like moving that thing and stuff for live events. And it works. The thing works awesome. With this, it's a bit different. So what I would do is I put like I said, it's square. So no matter the angle, it's still going to be the same dimensions. I put this on the back of my cart and I'm rolling through. Dude, it is legit 1/4 to 1/2 inch too wide on each side to go through any of those like standard commercial glass doors. I'm like, you've got to be shitting me, dude. So what I can do is put all my gear on the cart, and there's a handle on one side so I can grab it under an arm and lift it up and then carry it. But it's heavy. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, or I could do multiple trips, which is what I'm going to have to do in some situation. That's exactly what I'm going to do because setting it up is awesome. I love it. The only difference is on my Thursday event, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different doors that I have to go through. I'm not doing that for this. I'm like, guys, I'm just going to use a table in here. One of your tables will just get it done, make it happen. Even my Tuesday venue, I might do the same thing and not bring that in because it'll just take up so much room. There's these old whiskey barrels. I can just move one aside, boom, be good to go. That might be the case, and I might just start doing that. But the reason why I bring up work is not only like that, but so I feel awful about this, but I have to start making more money doing my job. I have to.
Sure.
The economy is in the fucking toilet. Like worse than it's been in a while, and everybody's hurting. And I'm like, I feel bad just raising my rates on my accounts. Like I really do everything I can to not do that until it's whatever. But it's like a real estate game. I've got Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Saturdays, I would never book a trivia event. In fact, Fridays and Sundays, for the longest time, I thought I would never book trivia, but the demand is there. So I'm booked every day out of that stretch except for Monday right now. And Mondays will be coming back. But I decided, and you let me know, Joe, if you think this is insane, right? So I'm charging a price right here for that 7 to 9 window. And there's a little bit of wiggle room, like I do 6 o'clock on Sundays, because that's sort of a different beast. And, everything else pretty much is 7 to 9. But the problem is like I've actually had one of my accounts say, hey, could you do a Thursday night for the college crowd here? Like do like a dirty, speed quizzing game or, something like that to try to draw some students in. And I was like, I can, but I go, guys, I don't get done till 9 o'clock. And I was like, and I'm okay doing like a 10 to midnight or a 10:30 to 12:30 if I need to. But I'm like, I still have to get up on Friday and bring my kid to school. I still have to do, you know what I mean? So it's like, I go, and if it doesn't work, like I don't want to move my current trivia night if it's not going to necessarily work. So we decided like we wouldn't necessarily do that. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is this, and I'm only going to talk to my accounts when it becomes an issue for that specific date. So my plan is I'm going to start with Mondays. I'm going to reach out because there's a list of people who want days, but do they want Monday? And I'm going to talk to somebody about picking up that Monday. And when they say, okay, well, what do you think? I'm going to tell them that there's 2 options. There's a 5:30 to 7:30 game, or there's an 8:30 to 10:30 game. The idea is that this gives me a whole hour to get torn down to the next event and get started. And by having the amount of equipment I have to be able to do it, I could actually set up the late one and then go set up for the other one and then strike it and have it all like 60 or 80% set up at the other location. In fact, some of these spots I might make the choice to like install a sound system that's just there. So I walk in with minimal stuff, just my box, plug in, just plug in and be ready to go and let it rip. But I know there's going to be some blowback. And what I'm going to do is obviously if it bumps it, let's say, I'll use Nathan Bills as an example. Let's say somebody says, oh, we want Wednesday. What I'll do is I'll say to that new client, okay, these are the 2 options. My current account gets the first pick.
Right.
They've got that much history with me. They're going to choose, and I'll let you know what they go with. The third option that the current account is going to have is to keep that date, but make it a premium time. So they're going to get like an extra 2 hours that they can divide up if they want it on the back end or if they want it before, they want to split the difference, however they want to do it. And we can add features. We could do music bingo. We could do a theme game. We could do, I could just DJ after the end of it, after trivia's done and be like, oh yeah, top 40 DJ or some shit like that, whatever. And go ahead and do that. And I can offer that way. Then I can say, so now you're getting this premium. Now the price is X, and it's not going to be double what the original price was. It'll be close, but it's not going to be twice as much. So in the end, they'll end up saving a little bit of money, but getting more out of me. Am I crazy for thinking that that's a good idea?
It's going to be a lot of work.
I'm okay with it. Like you're right.
It is. That's, like,
It's funny because like I had this conversation with somebody else and I'm like, I don't have much longer necessarily, but right now I'm still young enough where I have no problem going and DJing. It like that time flies to me. You know, hosting a game show, it's just you know, it's so easy. So doing more would be totally okay with that. The other thing that I'm going to do is in all of the agreements, because everybody when we start these is going to get brand new agreements. I'm just taking off whatever time I want to take off. I'm not committing to like, hey, oh yeah, you're going to get exclusivity. I'm not going to take this one day out. Like I'm obviously going to do what I can to avoid canceling all this other stuff. But like if the opportunity, I was talking with Holly today and I'm like, so my passport, I got the email that it's accepted and they said it should arrive on this week. Like I think around the 19th is when they said I should expect it. And I'm like, you know, now I think I should use this. You know, I should go to Canada routinely, you know, and set up and go and do some shit. And I was like, yeah, I'll go and spend a couple of weeks with Nick. You know, we'll see what happens there. Getting pissed off about the Detroit River and shit like that. and Holly looks at me and she's like, you're going to go up there for 2 weeks? I'm like, I wish I could. I'm like, I just said that, but I'm like, if I'm set up in this kind of situation, I could make it work. The possibility is there. So I'm not afraid of the extra work, you know, and I think that ultimately I think what my goal is I would almost rather all of my current accounts just expand on what they've got and say, yep, this is what we want to do. We'll have you here for this, and then we're going to do whatever. And I'm like, because that's the amount of time that we have, we'll set it up. Yeah. So yeah, we'll figure it all out. We'll plan it. I dig it. Yeah, it'll be interesting. That's for sure. I got a lot of events going on this week, man. Oh, I have a physical tomorrow. Oh, no. I haven't seen a doctor in like 10 years. Uh-oh. Yeah. So I'm 100% expecting to get some really shitty news and to get a laundry list of fucking medications handed to me. I got a feeling. Yeah, not going to be fun. So might be a little bit of a life change for Bobby Roast Beef potentially.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. So, Joe, how was your week after I rambled for nearly 40 minutes?
Dude, not as exciting as yours. I had all intentions of getting out on the boat. I brought the boats home.
Yep.
It's almost completely packed, like ready to go.
Yep.
Barring some like a few things, but I was planning on going and starting to pre-fish for a tournament I have coming up in 2 weeks.
Okay.
But I think it was Ryan Bogley, the butcher, who told me like, hey dude, there's like a 2-day like ice out tournament going on there.
That's insane.
It's like 20-30 boats. So I was like, damn it. So I didn't end up going. So I didn't end up doing that because I didn't want to impose on their tournament, nor did I, every spot I was going to want to go to was going to have a boat in it. So I was like, all right, so I'll just take my time, making sure everything's how I want it to be. Where I want it to be. I did do like a video of like a breakdown of the icon, kind of like pros, cons, cool. What I like about it. So I just got to edit that and post that on
awesome.
YouTube. But other than that, dude, it was a lot of just prepping. I'm ready. I mean, next weekend I've already planned it with Dan Griffin. Like we're going out. We're both bringing the boats, pre-fishing for that tournament.
Nice.
So. Because it's like 2 hours away, you know what I mean? So
if you're going to invest that kind of a drive, you don't want to be like, oh, I got to scoot around these. I get that.
Yeah. So it's like, I just didn't want, but some big fish came out of there. I did see, which was kind of crazy.
Oh, really? Nice. I'm a little surprised, dude. Like an ice out tournament that it was that good, but shit. No shit.
Yeah, because the spot's always hit or miss for me. Like I've done like 3 tournaments there. One I did really well. I was in the top 5, and the other ones I was just like, eh. One of them I did real shitty. One of them I was like middle of the pack. But no, man. Other than that, got a few things in the mail for fishing. We'll talk about one in the gear of the week.
Nice.
I did go check out a Korean restaurant last night.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, out in Leominster. Oh,
okay.
It was the Seoul Kitchen. Seoul at like Seoul,
Korea?
South Korea. Yeah. So we went there. Amazing food. met a friend of ours out there, and amazing food, amazing drinks. They had this toasted coconut Mai Tai that was to die for.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, I got the beef bulgogi. Yeah, I got that. Good. And
that's actually what I had. We did the barbecue as well as the hot pot. Yeah. Oh my God, it's one of my favorite things.
Oh, so good. But yeah, dude, I'm just itching to hit the water. Like, the boat's ready. I went over and helped Dan. He did some new things to his Skeeter, so I helped him configure some shit over the weekend. So I spent some time over there. Him and the butcher stopped at my house. Yesterday morning they stopped by, and
nice.
It's that time, dude. It's that time of the year. Like, it's true. It's game on.
Yeah, it really is game on. Like 100%. Where it is all in. I'm amazed that you weren't just like, oh, there's a tournament. Fuck it, I'm gonna go to another body of water or something like that instead.
Yeah. So it was. I thought about it, but like, obviously, like, everything local to me is still frozen, locked in, locked up. But I know some people were on some bodies of water today. I almost did it. I was almost like, you know what? Let's hook it up and go. There's a spot I wanted to go to, but when I decided I wasn't going this week and I made some other plans, I'm like, God, I'd kind of be an asshole. I'd kind of be an asshole if I, So so that's okay. Cause I figured I'd give one more weekend to the family, cause starting next weekend,
you're going to be
the
on
season's
the water.
here. Yeah.
Game on.
Season's here, and they're not going to see me much on the weekend. So
hell yeah.
That's it.
That's badass, dude. I got a feeling Oxbow is going to be wide open, probably next weekend. I have a feeling that it won't be much longer before we're going to see some of my other regular haunts start opening up either, especially like with the weather that we've had today. And if we're supposed to get some rain overnight, like some significant rain, and the high is supposed to still be like 50.
Yep.
So that could be fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be gone this week. Hopefully. Fingers crossed, it should be gone.
John Hagens brings up a good point here. He says 15 days until tourney season kicks off. John, you are so damn right. Yep. Now, we only have for the April tournament, like I think 4 anglers that have registered already. But we've seen like this. Normally it takes this window, that 2-week lead in where people are just like, okay, cool, we're going for it.
Yep.
Some people are just like, I don't know if I want to do April because if we still have ice for some bizarro reason, or some shit like that, I get why there might be a little hesitant to go for it. But we usually see in the next couple of weeks, like a lot of people will start jumping in. So registration is open over at Fishing Chaos. The links for all of the tournaments that are upcoming, reasonably soon are available here. And when I say all the tournaments, I'm talking about the April multi-species scavenger hunt, the April 19th slot limit catch 'em all. That's happening. There's keep in mind, guys, the listeners are the ones that asked for this. Nobody has signed up for that slot limit tournament. Nobody. It's April 19th. You will have open water. It's going to be badass. Trust me. We also have the open, and that's in May. There's a week in May where that is open. And you can register for all of these. So go ahead, check out the links right there. Oh, Todd Sefton says, oh, I have. Yeah, actually, it's been a couple of days since I've looked. So there might be a couple of people that are in there. Obviously, I'm going to be entered in there as well. Joe, you should definitely enter in this sucker for sure, man.
Yeah, as long. Yeah, I plan on doing it.
It's gonna be so much freaking fun. I know that Dave Urkey, the Wolf of Walmart, has been doing some talking with all of the fishing folk that he's come across with over at Kayak City, and just like that he knows. So I'm really hoping to see a big push from the West Coast in this. Obviously, Wiener Fingers, he's looking forward to it. He's got himself a new vessel as well, so that's going to work out really, really well. Binya has been chomping at the bit to get out and fish. And he even said, he was like, he goes, I'd love to go and do a Cape Send with you, Bobby. He's like, but for me to do that, it's like a 6-hour drive for him.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little bit less, maybe 5 hours. Yeah. He's like, if I go and do that, he's like, it is a long ride. He goes, it's something where I'm going to have to go realistically and camp. And then, from there, go and do whatever. And I was like, I totally get that. That's fine. But then he was like, I hope that the ramps open up near you on the river. He's like, that I can go do like on a weekday. And I'm like, hell yes, you can. And we will for sure be making that happen. So yeah, dude, it is game on. It is
game on.
Game on. Pat Martin says he and Matt are going to be in the slot limit tournament as far as he knows. John Hagan says he's also entered in the slot tournament. Okay, this is good. This is good. I got to check on all the who's and who's logged in and ready to go. I'm going to be entering all that stuff all this week, getting all this stuff all together. I think what I'm going to do for the Open is sit this one out and do the fall Open to qualify for the championship. I just want to see how this is from the tournament director standpoint.
Yeah.
In that 7-day window. Like, I want to be on Fishing Chaos more than I'm on any other social app at all.
Yeah.
And I want to be, just dialed and see what happens. Because remember, doing the Opens is how you qualify for the championship. And the championship's going to be insane. I still catch myself daydreaming about like, how would I do? Where would I start? What's the plan? What's the best move? And I'm very, very excited for it. Fishing in the Berkshires is going to start in a handful of weeks. Like, it's still pretty cold up there, but like that water is going to be opening up soon.
Yep.
It's freaking bananas, dude.
Yep.
Absolutely nuts. I don't know. I think as far as week in review, I think that about does it. Why don't we go ahead and we'll get into our fishing headlines, and we'll see what we got.
All right, so I got a good story here for you guys this week. This is, a nice uplifting story, for a nice 13-year-old. So the headline here is, that ain't no crappie. Watch this 13-year-old catch a state record largemouth bass through the ice. So after logging 300 days on the water with his brother in the last 12 months, Kyler Leslie was better prepared than most adults to land the bass of a lifetime. Are you familiar with this one, Bobby?
I am. This is a great story. I love this.
So obsession could take root at any age. Take, for example, Kyler Leslie, a 13-year-old from Massachusetts, who pulled a state record largemouth through the ice on February 23rd. The 7.71 pound bass is a monster by Northeast standards.
Oh, yeah.
100% accurate. And it ties a record in the catch and release division. Keep in mind, catch and release is actually by length, not weight.
And it's in the youth.
It's in the youth division. It's in the youth division. The catch was all more impressive because the diehard teenager caught it on 4-pound test during wintertime after 12 months of intense and obsessive effort. Kyler, along with his younger brother Riker, fished around 300 days last year. The boys had learned about the state's Angler of the Year program while attending a Massachusetts Fish and Wildlife event with their dad, Mike, in March of 2024. This sent them down a year-long rabbit hole to catch as many eligible species as possible. With full support from their parents, the brothers achieved their goal and were both named Youth Anglers of the Year.
Dude, that is awesome. I didn't realize that part of it. Holy shit.
They caught well over 5,000 fish and were awarded 314 bronze pins.
Holy
157 pins apiece. So they were dead tied, Mike tells Outdoor Life. They had made an agreement with themselves when they got to a certain point that if the other can't catch a certain species, they wouldn't submit that species either. So they were either going to win an Angler of the Year together or they weren't going to win it at all. Mike says state wildlife officials made the announcement on January 21st that Kyler and Riker will receive their awards at a ceremony on March 15th. But the two anglers weren't about to rest on their laurels, not with the ice fishing conditions still in prime shape. A month later, on February 23rd, they headed out with their dad to a lake near the Vermont state line. Kyler says they'd fished the spot a couple times before and caught trout. So that's kind of what they were going for initially. This lake is probably around 31 acres. So it's a pond. It's like a puddle.
It's small, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And only half of it is deeper open water, says Kyler, who'd rather keep the lake's name to himself.
Fair,
but we didn't know a ton about the spot. But our goal was to catch.
Published it.
They always it's a requirement.
Yeah,
it's a requirement. But their goal was to catch some brook trout, and it was a nice day, bright and sunny. So, after drilling some holes near shore and setting up baited rods with jaw jackers, Kyler and Mike drilled a dozen more holes for jig fishing further out in the lake. They were bouncing from hole to hole using their Vexilar sonar device to search for fish when Mike spotted a big blob near the bottom. It looked like it was moving a little bit, so I dropped my jig down and saw the fish come up, Kyler says. I feathered him up and tried to get him interested, and he came up and looked at the bait. But then he stopped, paused, and dropped back down. Kyler then dropped the lure again and teased the fish up, but it still wouldn't bite.
Oh.
The little game of cat and mouse went on until Kyler showed the fish his lure a fourth time. Normally, we only get 1 or 2 shots at a fish like this until it spooks off or loses interest, but the fourth time must have been just right because he smoked it. So I lifted the jigging rod and it felt like a log, and I'm like, that ain't no crappie. I knew it wasn't a trout either because trout like to dart at the bait, and this was like slow and methodical. The battle though was anything but slow. The giant bass ran towards the nearest boat dock and peeled line off the small ice fishing reel. I mean, this thing is tiny. It's literally a little ice jigging rod.
Oh yeah.
Kyler, who was only using 4-pound test, knew he had to play with the fish slowly and gingerly, and he kept the drag nice and loose, and the fish ran for 40 to 50 yards under the ice. Thankfully, Kyler says the big largemouth wore itself out just because it reached the nearest dock piling, which would have been before he reached it, which would have been game over. After 5 minutes, anxiety-inducing, drag-burning rungs, Kyler was able to turn the bass back toward him and slowly work it to the surface, mindful to keep the ultralight line from fraying on the sharp ice. He pulled the bass up to the hole and grabbed it by its bottom lip. When I went to lift it up, I put my whole entire hand in its mouth. It felt like I was grabbing that thing with all my life, Kyler says. I was just joking the other day about how normally when you catch a lot of bass, you'll have a scraped up thumb. But this one, the scrapes around my palm. So Mike put video footage up there. I'm gonna try to, you guys at least, some of you guys be able to watch it, some of you guys be able to hear the audio, but I'm gonna try to share my screen here.
This video that because it's been shared all over the place is so good. Like, it is so good. But I let's go ahead and do this.
All right, so let's go here. It didn't do that last time. Oh. Dang it. Hang on, let me try again here.
All right.
Hold on. I watched it earlier. Hang on, let me refresh this. Oh, that's a bummer. I'm not logged into Instagram on this computer. Oh,
gotcha.
Hold on. We might be able to get it. There we go.
Dude, this is a giant.
You hear that drag?
He's just dogging me.
That's crazy.
He's just dogging me.
Whatever it is. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. He's just booking it that way.
At first I thought you were saying just fucking that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
He came up and looked at it like 4 different times. He finally ate it. Dude, this is a giant.
And keep in mind, he does not know what so many ads. He does not know what this thing is yet. He doesn't know if he's got a pike, a big trout.
Oh, yeah. Here it comes. Got 4-pound test. That is exhilarating.
That's insane. That's
I've been
insane.
gaining on him for like, what? For like 30 seconds now. That just shows you how far he went. Probably ran 40, 50 yards. Oh my gosh.
So he's just working for those of you who can't see this right now. He's literally just working this fish. I mean, this is a 8-pound fish on 4-pound test on an ice rod that he's smart. I mean, most kids that age probably would have tried to horse that thing in.
100%. Yeah,
Oh.
he's
Oh my god! 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 That's the biggest bass of my life. Oh my god! Yes! Trout fishing. What?
that thing is a giant.
My god!
Giant.
Look at the size
Just under 8
of
pounds.
that fish. Look at the Swedish pimple. Look at this.
He's
On a
using
Swedish
pimple.
Barely in the bottom lip. Look at just came off.
He's lucky he even bit that
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
man. I mean,
Stud. I've never caught a bass that big. Dude.
What was
that
either
length
have
of
I,
a lake
either have I,
monster.
kid. I've never caught one that big either.
Oh my gosh, that's like a 7-pounder.
Joe, what was the length on that fish?
25.
25? Yeah, that's...
Yep, it was 25.
And to just put it into reference, like, that's the catch and release adult record, too.
Yep.
Like,
Yep,
it is. Like, just, there's so many people who are like, you know, some folks are kind of crazy about this stuff, and they'll nitpick.
Yep.
You know, about the details. Because I've seen the story posted like a bunch of times in the comments. People are just like, I thought the state record was 15.8 pounds and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And
Right.
it is, but that's the adult, like, state record catch and keep, not
Catch and
the
keep,
catch
yeah.
and release.
There's essentially 4 different divisions. You
There
got
really
your
are,
youth,
yeah.
You got your youth catch and keep, and then you got your youth catch and release, and then the adult catch and keep,
Yep.
catch and release. So
It's-
there's 4 divisions.
It's crazy, man. Congratulations, dude. That is one hell of a fish. And to do it through the ice. And, like, I mean, that gives you the bragging rights of, like, really that state record catch and keep, the 15er is, that was through the ice as well.
That's right.
That's through the ice. That's
Yep.
insane. That is 100% insane. Maybe I need to start ice fishing. God damn it.
I promised Jeremiah that as long as we get the ice next year, I promised him we'll get it in.
I might just have to fucking do it. God
So
damn it.
hopefully he forgets.
Hopefully he forgets. Dude, that's a great story. That is a great fish.
Yeah, it is.
And
It
like
is.
I love the fact like the team the two brothers just being like, look, if you can't catch a species, I'm not submitting for it. Like that is amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Absolutely badass. That is so unbelievable and like just great. Absolutely freaking great.
Man, it must be nice to have like 2 kids, 2 sons that get along. Mine would make it a competition, and
Oh, yeah, it'd be
Like,
bad.
like one of them, like if one of them was bringing up that fish, the other one would have cut the line.
the line,
dude, as soon as
yes.
it came to the top.
That's most. I think that's most families would be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, you think you're getting that? No, I don't think so.
Wow, it's a big fish. Snip.
Tell them a story about the one you almost caught, huh? You know? Oh
yep.
my God. Yeah, that is freaking insane, dude. The fact that
Yeah.
like they got the whole thing on camera, that is so good. John Higgins chimes in. He goes, I want to beat the state long-nosed gar in Ohio. Not as glorious as a bass, but I got close in 2023. The record is 49 inches, 25 pounds. I got a 48.75, 18-pounder. No shit. No. Now, John, do you have to beat both the length and the weight? Or if you beat one of them, you could take it? That's what I think is so interesting about these state records. You know?
Dude, I remember I saw like since I was a kid,
Yeah.
I saw my first long-nosed gar when I was down at Lake Hartwell.
Oh.
Like I was just like I'm just fishing, dude, and I see something like coming up towards the boat on the graph, and it's like on the live scope, it's like coming up. I'm like, what the fuck? And I like look over. I'm like, what the fuck is that thing? I'm like, Jesus Christ. came like right to the top, dude. Like it was like a fucking dolphin come to get air, dude. I was like, what the hell?
John says, I believe it's the weight. Speaking of videos, did you see the video of it's like a dad taking out like his like 2 or 3 kids out fishing, and there's one of those jumping Asian carp that just jumps in the boat.
I just saw that recently.
I think I shared it on my story a couple of times, and I die laughing every single time. Every single time.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That
dude,
fish
like it almost like takes him off the boat.
Okay, I think I
Asian
remember
carp.
that fish, John. John says that fish was entered in the July 2023 Jigs and Bigs tourney before the NE5 went away. That's the kind of fish you want to enter in that NE5. 100%. 100%. Yeah. That is fucking badass. That's a giant, dude. That's a big long-nosed gar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking disturbing. That's amazing though. I mean, congrats to this kid and the entire family, and like amazing that he was able to land such an absolute tank on such delicate finessey gear, and the fact that he used a Swedish pimple too is just the icing on the cake.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Absolutely crazy.
I love that shit. You got another one for us? Or
nope, that's it for the stories today.
Dude, that's
it
awesome.
for the headlines.
What a great story.
It was.
Absolutely fantastic story. Guys, we have a show that is full of value for you guys. We got a Gear of the Week this week. We have not one, but 2 Just the Tip portions right here. And we also have a little bit of a... You're going to want to stick around after all that stuff in our 3rd segment, because we are going to be having a conversation about a couple of questions that came along that during last week's roundtable episode, these questions had come in through Instagram, and we got so sidetracked with the conversation at hand, which, by the way, was fantastic. And the feedback that came back afterwards was also fantastic. So if you guys like those, we'll have more of them just continue through the season. We'll just plan in advance and make it happen and make it a thing. But, that's right. Pat Martin says, we never got to hear thoughts on the Scott Martin DQ. I'll be honest with you regarding the Scott Martin DQ. That was a balloon that just got deflated because the reason why he called himself out for no real fault of his own. There was no real drama or anything. He basically was having a conversation with people, and he didn't put the brakes on that conversation regarding info about a specific spot, which is part of the rules when it comes to that elite level of tournament angling. And he was like, I think I'm in the wrong for this. My opinion on that, fuck all those rules. I think every single angler should be able to do what the fuck they want, use whatever technology. You paid that money to be in there, or you worked your way up to get to that level. Fuck it. That's my take on it.
Dude, and there's Skeeter Crosby got disqualified from MPFL this past week. For
oh, really? I never even heard
stupid.
anything of that.
Yeah, it's so basically he got long story short, he got disqualified. He was on the live can on the live footage, and I don't know if he was talking, like, I don't know if it was another, I don't know if he was talking to the cameraman or something like that. I only saw it quickly, but he basically was like, that person's down in that spot. Oh, yep. Is he on him? Like, is he on him? And he got disqualified.
And they DQ'd him for that. No shit.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Fuck.
That could be like part of like a round table or something where we could just be like, this is fucking getting crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
it's 100%, dude. It's like, I have some strong opinions about that. Like, you should be able to fucking use, but I think it just needs to be open to everybody. You want to fucking talk to locals? Everybody can talk to locals. Then it's an even playing field, and you don't have to fucking police it or police yourself. You know what I mean? Like, less bullshit, the better. It's like Guitar Tone and Underpants. They're both better with less shit in them.
Yep. Yeah.
Todd chimes in. He goes, how about Trey McKinney trying to sink his boat at the launch, trying to practice for Classic? That was insane. Like,
I can't believe they still went out there, man.
That was crazy. Like, there was one specific roller that came right over the top, and I was like, oh, he's fucked. And it was like one of those.
It was at that moment he knew he fucked up,
because it was right there where it was basically the entire floor of his boat was just like submerged. It was just taking too much water. Yeah, that was crazy. Was it Milliken that recorded that?
No, he shared it.
Yeah.
He wasn't recording it. He's like, I think he met his son. It was like, why is this person like recording it and not like trying to help him? Because he was, he was on the struggle bus. But yeah, no, he just shared it. He didn't record it.
John Hagens chimes in. He goes, thought I would mention be safe on the water. They're currently searching for a person that was catfishing in a kayak. They found his kayak in Lake Marion in the Santee Cooper area empty. Oh, dude, that sucks. That's rough. You might just want to make sure that he didn't move a bunch of money to an offshore account and then marry somebody overseas, because that was a fucking story that came out of the Midwest like last year or the year before or some shit like that. Yeah, but definitely safety. Life vest was strapped to his kayak. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not smart. Todd says you could see it in his body language. Pat Martin goes, that clip reminded me of trying to load our boat in the October 28th on Indian Lake. The wind was whipping and the water was low. That's how I felt launching on, where was it? Jordan Lake with the Jabberhammer. We decided to launch from this one spot, and there were people out swimming in that water. And I put my boat in the water, put it up on the shore, and then went to go move my truck, and my boat was just bouncing up against rocks. It was fucking scary. It was fucking scary. Anyway, we have some questions that we're going to be answering in our third segment here. We got a bunch of high quality stuff coming for you after this break. Do not go too far. Trust me, you guys don't want to miss it. We'll be back. More Jigs and Bigs goodness coming up right after this.
And perhaps play a little game called Just a Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
Well, so we got multiple tips, different angles, like the whole nine. We got it all. We got it all. Why don't we start? Joe has a fishy tip, and I just have something that's something that can really apply to a lot of folks right here.
Sure. You want me to go first?
Why don't you go first? We'll get the fishy stuff out of the way.
All right. For you New Englanders up here, us Massachusetts guys and North, it's ice out, baby. The ice is melting. Time to get those boats out in the water. So I'm gonna give you a little tip as to how to get those fish that are still a little lethargic and a little cold. So essentially, for the lakes that ice out, you want to focus on shallow, sun-warmed areas near deeper wintering holes. So these things are in those wintering holes, but as that ice comes out and that water gets warmer, they're going to start moving up towards there. North-facing coves, rocky shorelines, and areas with submerged wood or grass are going to warm up a little bit quicker to attract the bass a little bit faster. Since lake bass are still sluggish, so when they're cold, they're still sluggish, so it's a slow-moving baits that you want to start fishing with. So that's, especially with like that late, the stained or muddy water. You look at like the lipless crankbaits, jerk baits with super slow pauses. Maybe even like dragging the bottom with, whether it's a Carolina rig, Texas rig, but the name of the game here, and it's something I've talked about on the show before that I struggle with so bad. It's just, you got to go slow, man. You got to go right now. You just have to go slow. So with the jerk baits, I'm talking like anywhere from 5 to 10 second pauses after you twitch that thing, just slowly dragging those Carolina rigs, just slowly dragging those Texas rigs. Blade baits, kind of dropping them down, ripping them up, letting them fall, ripping them up. You got hair jigs, you have Ned rigs, just slowly, dragging around Ned rigs. So the name of the game now, the shallow water, basically what I do is I start at the deeper areas, especially now when I'm like pre-fishing for a tournament, for instance. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go near those deeper areas. I'm going to scan. I'm going to look. I'm going to throw the live scope out. Are they here? Oh, they're not here? Cool. I'm going to start, going towards, where the shed where the ledges or whatever, or where it goes up to that more shallow water, and kind of see where they are. Cause it's not like, oh, we're in the deep. Now let's go shallow. They move their way up. So you got to kind of figure out where they're at. But, the name of the game is, find where they're going for that little bit of warmer water and just go so slow. And that's it.
When you like find them, right?
Yeah.
How is it that you're positioning, or is that more dependent on your technique? So like, are you leaving the boat and in closer to the shallow side and casting out deep and bringing it back into the shallow, or are you going out deep and then casting shallow and having it come down?
So normally for me, I'm going to cast deep and I'm going to bring it. So it depends. So if it's like a jerk bait or something, it doesn't really matter. But if it's like if I'm dragging the bottom, I'm going to start deep and bring it up versus start shit, because it's just a little bit easier to keep it on the bottom that way and whatnot. So typically if I'm dragging, I will go deeper and come shallow. If I'm running a jerk bait or something, suspending or something like that, it's basically just going to be where I can set myself up the easiest with the wind or whatever to kind of keep myself in that position that I need to be. I will hit it from, now if let's say I'm trying to fish to them perpendicular, I start perpendicular, they're not hitting. That's when I'll relocate myself and then try to, run the bait parallel with them. But, if a fish doesn't bite because I came at him perpendicular, I'm not going to I'm not going to stop. I'm going to I'm going to hit that. I'm going to hit that thing. I'm going to hit him parallel. I'm going to hit him diagonal. I'm going to see what's going to get him moving, because you're going to see them. I mean, either if they don't move at all, that's when it's like, okay, like what's going on here? But you'll. Me running live scope, I should say, this is how I see it. I'm gonna know if they're looking at it, if they're not looking at it, if they're kind of interested, you know what I mean? So that's how I do it.
It's interesting, man. Like I think that's the thing you mentioned, like perpendicular and going. Lots of times I try to fish if it's, let's say we're looking at like the northwest corner of whatever pond. In that cold weather, I look for like that ledge that's like the steepest one, and I try to position myself so that I'm pretty much just off the ledge, and try and work it like parallel to it, almost like at a 45 degree. And I'll drift off, or like this is a lot in the kayak. What I'll try to do is I'll set myself in a position where if the wind is moving me one way or the other, I'll choose which way I'm going to run that bait based on that. And I'll go to that one spot and let things kind of move me out that way. And that's where throwing like a finesse jig or a Ned is just fucking magic, because like you can do so much with, or eat like a small finesse swim bait or something.
And downsize your baits. I forgot to say that.
No,
downsize your
is
baits.
Huge, dude. It is. It totally is. And sometimes you need the fucking weight. So like you got to get weird with it, Yeah,
you got to get
You might not think that like, oh, this 2.8 inch Kitech, I should throw this on a 3/8 ounce jig head. Sometimes you got to fucking find those oddball size jig heads with the small enough hook to make it work,
Yep.
Oh, it's a really good point. I like that a lot. This is the not so fishy one. So a buddy of mine, right? Longtime friend from college years ago. He is not into fishing at all. Like, I don't know that he's ever fished in his life, but what he really is really into is mountain biking and cross-country skiing. And a couple years ago, he had hit me up when I had started going out and doing some of this camping stuff out of my truck, right? And he was like, dude, he goes, I kind of love that like style of camping that you're doing. He's like, there are so many times where I want to go, and like, it's so rare because he's got 2 younger kids than I have. And he's like, it's so difficult to get like some time. And sometimes I got to chase the snow, specifically when it's like cross country skiing. And he goes, sometimes I got to go and chase the snow. So I might have to go and take like a ride to like New Hampshire, something like that. And if I'm going to make it worth it, I want to be set up where I could like ski until late Sleep that night, then go out early the next morning, get a few runs in, leave like around like noontime or like, is sometime in the afternoon and be home in plenty of time to get a good night's sleep for the rest of the week. And I was like, dude, makes absolute sense. The thing is, this guy is cheap as they come. So he wants to do all these, and he drives a Subaru. He drives a Subaru Outback is what he's got. And I can remember telling him this. He was like, I told him, I was like, dude, you're going to want to get like some kind of a sleep system, Yeah. And here's the thing, and I'm kind of ripping off of Fletch from All Things Overlanding here when he says this, but if you're going to buy gear, right? And you're like, I get it. People are looking for a bargain. I just said the economy's in the toilet and everything. I get it. People want to save a buck. If it touches your skin or you sleep on it, spend the money. Don't cut corners there. Cut corners on a camp stove. Cut corners on everything else. Cut corners on that. If you sleep on it or it touches your skin, spend the money, because it is truly a buy once, cry once kind of situation. So earlier this week, he texted me and he goes, I'm going to actually just read this to you guys back to back. So this is Saturday. He sends me a text and it's a screenshot of iOverlander. And he's like, do you think this spot's a safe bet? He goes, I'm going to head up later. And I was like, only one way to find out. You got to send it. Because they was saying like iOverlander was like, oh, they can't confirm one way or another, anything about this one spot. I was like, you just got to do it, And I mean, like, worst case scenario, somebody's going to tell you to get the fuck out of there. It's like worst case scenario. So then he sends me a picture of him with like the back of his Subaru packed up full of gear, ski poles up on the roof, or skis up on the roof, ski poles in the back with his boots and everything, and he's ready to send it. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. I was like, you're heading out? He goes, yep. He goes, sending it. He goes, bare bones, no pad, just going for it. My comment to him was, no pad? Your back is going to have you shopping for one tomorrow. He goes, I'd figured I'd just try it without. He goes, maybe I'll pop into a store and see. Then this is this morning, or no, last night. He goes, all right, dude, I'm sure my back might kill, but I should, maybe I should open a window, but I'm not. Here goes nothing. He goes, there's two other vehicles here. So then I just commented, sleep tight. This morning, he sends me a couple of pictures of his rig, a couple of the scenic pictures. He goes, it all worked out. First thing he asks,
any recommendations on a solid sleeping pad, brand or model?
He goes, I saw one on Reddit that people use and it's like $180, but I don't know if there's any cheaper options. There are, but they won't last you. You'll be replacing them every couple of years. Yeah. So if you're like, I want to get away with spending like under $50, you're going to spend under $50 every handful of years. Mm-hmm. And I say this because like this is the tip, right? And it is to just go and send it. But take consideration into, even if you're just going to go and do it, buy an air mattress. If you're going to sleep in your vehicle, just buy. It's not going to be ideal. 100% it won't be. But if it's something that you think that you like and you want to then get to that next level, look at some of that other equipment to sink your money into. And the stuff you want to sink your money into is for sleep and clothing, so that you're prepared for everything else, And I with him, I only have experience with one specific brand, but I know that brand, and the brand is, what the fuck is Deep Sleep Overland for mattresses. Okay. And they're the reason why I recommend them so much is because they have a pretty good R value overall. So they insulate pretty good because they are memory foam and air combination. You don't have to inflate them. Like, you don't have to sit there and take 15 minutes and like blow them up or use a compressor or anything like that. They self-inflate. You open a valve and you put pressure on them and they deflate. Super easy. The reason why I recommend it, and I recommended this to him specifically, is they do have models that fit the back of his Subaru.
Gotcha.
So it lays it out so you've got everything that you need. And it's not one of these things you have to commit huge. I use 2 mattresses in mine so that I can have the entire width in there, or I have options. I can stack them on one side if I want like a real nice cushy side, and put gear on the other side. Like I like the versatility. He could start with just one, and he's not like my size at all. Like he's much more in what somebody would call fit shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he could get definitely 100% get by with just a single one on one side. But if he finds that he wants the room, he can then get a second one and then use whatever. But like, that's my thing. Spend the money on the sleep stuff. And the reason why I mentioned this for the listeners of Jigs and Bigs is that folks that are listening to this show this time of year are probably thinking about a handful of maybe longer if they're smart, they're thinking about longer trip destinations that they might want to make this coming year, maybe in the summer. This is a great way to save a lot of money on travel. Camping is great for that. Yes, there's some equipment that you're going to need. No, you don't need the top of the line of everything. Trust me, you're going to make it for those couple of days that you're there, bare bonesing it through, like 100%. But put a little bit of investment into the gear that you use to sleep. Trust me, it's 100% worth it. And then long term, so maybe you spend a couple $100 on a sleep system for your vehicle, or maybe it's a tent. Well, go the extra mile and get a cot, because trust me, your back will thank you. You know what I mean? Not sleeping on the ground, like it will thank you. Your body will thank you. Do that kind of stuff now, and you'll get a lot more return on it long term, because you own the gear. Once you've bought it, it's yours. You can take as many trips as you want, and that's not like, oh, well, I got to shell out a few $100s for this Airbnb. Sure, you can get a group of people to go and split that or something, but like over time, that's costing you a lot for the luxury of having a roof to sleep under. But if you've got a vehicle that you can do, and really you can do this in any vehicle. You really can. There are some things where it might take a little bit of creativity to kind of make it work. But like, I can remember Binya when he and I first truck camped. Binya, and this was like, but Binya's lost like 80 pounds. Did you know that?
Yeah, I noticed on one of his shows,
He's lost a shit ton of weight. But before all of that happened, when he and I first camped together, he slept in the extended cab of his pickup. And, it wasn't ideal, but it was one night. It wasn't a big deal. Yeah. Good example, Delirious. Delirious has a Tacoma, right? And he's got this sweet little tent setup that goes on the back of his truck. Yeah. Now, you got to, work around some stuff. Like when he sets that up, he's got to strike it every time he wants to drive anywhere. So what we did was I intentionally brought a larger trailer, a U-Haul, so we could put both of our kayaks in that one trailer and I could drive, because my stuff is all enclosed right in my, it's like, these dudes that have like a rooftop tent, that stuff's great, but you got to strike it every time that you want to drive somewhere, Yeah. Because driving with a rooftop tent is fucking insane. Deployed, when it's deployed. So that's the tip. Like, if you're going to spend the money, put the money on like your sleep system to definitely to start. And then like anything else that you want to make an investment, especially if you're doing like cold weather camping, stuff like that, a good base layer. It's awesome to have. It's going to help you so much. And layers and things like that. And buy things with intent, to if it touches your body or it helps you get a good night's sleep, it's worth putting your money into. So look at that shit. And this, trust me, once you make that investment, you're going to find yourself wanting to take more trips, and, you'll find spots. Trailheads are great places to disperse camp. Most trailheads, you're absolutely clear to go and park and camp overnight with no problem. Like, you can't have a fire and all that kind of shit, but you can set up and essentially stealth camp in there with no problem. Or if you've got like a rooftop tent or whatever, like not so stealth camping like I do, shit like that. Fucking bananas. Let's go ahead. There's before we jump into the gear of the week, John Kagans goes, sorry, random. Scrolling Facebook and someone asked on a fishing page, are the tariffs going to drive up the cost of Canadian night crawlers? And apparently the comments are just insane. Possibly. How do we handle, like, if the Canadian worms cross the border? How are we checking that to make sure that, Because it's
Send
important.
them right back, dude.
Get the fuck back there.
Toss them right back over the border.
Fucking. All right. Well, let's go ahead and do this. It is time. We're gonna get nerdy.
Okay, gearheads, it's time to talk tools. Jigs and Bigs Gear of the Week.
All right. So what are we talking about here, Joe?
Bobby,
You bought some shit.
I ordered something, and I'm going to talk about one thing this week, and I'll talk about the next thing next week.
Perfect. I love that.
I've been watching this thing for about a year now, contemplating whether I want to get it or not. Mm-hmm. And it's such a simple thing that you wouldn't think of, but I bought it, and I'm like, this is awesome. I got the BKK OCD tackle storage system.
You did? Oh.
Yep.
So
I did.
the butcher did as well.
Yep. So it's awesome. It's the great thing is that it all comes all put together and everything already.
Yep.
Are there some hooks in there that I use? Are there some hooks that I use that aren't in there? Sure.
Yep.
But 95% of them are in there.
Yeah.
And the cool, dude, it's just such a great. Again, I'll try to so you guys that are in here can kind of see it. But
I'm interested to get your take on it because Paul and Jeff from Aggressively Average Anglers,
yeah,
they both see, that's a fucking thing of beauty. They both have purchased this and have their own takes on it. And they were like, it doesn't come with any weights. It's all
no
hooks.
shit. It's a fucking hook box. No shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that people I think that people are under the assumption that it's a terminal tackle box, it's a big carry-all.
This is straight up hooks.
But the nice thing is that there are options from BKK. You can get it with absolutely bare bones, or you can get it with the individual boxes and no hooks, and then put your own hooks on. So it is. I think that's pretty sweet.
So the big thing for me was the organizational aspect of it. Because I'm always trying to be a little bit more organized. So I did get the ones that are full already because I'm like, why not? And then as I go, I can refill them, whether it's with BKK or whatever other hooks I decide to put in there. The one con that I've noticed so far, I haven't used this thing. I mean, I literally just opened it, but the tackle box is deeper than a typical 3700 box. So it doesn't fit in the spots within within my boat.
Yep.
Not a deal breaker. I have plenty of spots on the boat I can put it. But again, it's just the organizational aspect of it was 100%. Is it expensive? Yes, it's expensive. It's $300 essentially.
But you're getting a ton of hooks.
But you're getting so many hooks, and cool. I spent $300, but this thing's gonna last me. I mean, the hooks in here, if I didn't replace them at all, would last me years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Obviously, there's some hooks in here I might not ever use. So once I discover that, I'll put something else in there. This was a little quirky when they put the the little armband in there.
Is that what that is?
It's one of those fucking Live Strong type
gotcha.
But and then there's some stickers and shit. But they I would have liked them to put in some wacky hooks in that spot because there's no wacky hooks in here.
There's no wacky. Oh no shit.
No, there's so there is no wacky hooks.
You can
pretty much
order those individual boxes though. So
yes,
you pull that stuff out. If you want to put a something specific, you can do that.
100%.
That's cool.
So I like it. So thus far I have no buyer's remorse. I like it. I think it's gonna one thing I am stupid unorganized with in the past has been my hooks.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is gonna really help me out. And especially them all being labeled because I'll just I eventually I'll toss something out of, a bag into like a box. I'm like, oh fuck, is this like Gamakatsu, or is this like, oh shit, I don't remember. Like I want to use a Gamakatsu, but I don't remember if that's what this is. So no more of that problem. So the BKK, the OCD, the hook system. I'm very happy that I got it thus far. I've used BKK hooks in the past.
Yep.
So we're going to try them out, give them a whirl this year, and see what happens.
I am curious. Is that lid, does that lid have a gasket? Is it waterproof?
Yes.
Oh, that is huge. That is...
Yep.
For me, that would be a deal breaker. Like, if it wasn't.
I can't. I don't know if I can zoom in. You can kind of see it. But yeah, the gasket's right here.
Okay. Because it looked kind of like it is. Because that other lip looks like it's designed to seat a gasket.
Yep.
Damn, that is pretty badass right there, dude.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I had considered looking, taking a peek at that and just making it a terminal box that I would put in the boat to leave on hand.
Yeah.
Because I would probably buy it without the hooks and just buy a bunch of the boxes and then put the stuff that I need in there. The biggest thing for me is it being waterproof for sure. I realized some shit. Like, it's funny, man. Like, going back to my week when I was throwing that 3/4 ounce wobblehead jig.
Yeah.
I had changed out a bunch of different terminal from box to box to box to box. And I don't know why, but I had these 1 ounce flipping weights. And that's what I wanted to throw. Was one of those. I was like a big fat Texas rig, just boom. In that heavy current where I needed that additional weight. And I was looking around in a bunch of different boxes in the boat, and I'm like, I don't know where the fuck I put those. Or if like what happened to them, if I had lost my last one and never replenished. So I got to figure that
We'll talk about weights next week.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Very, very cool.
We'll talk about weights.
All right, now I'm excited. This is great, dude. That's the kind of shit I want to know.
It's already here. It's already here.
Nice.
We'll talk about that next week. I have we'll talk about that one next week.
It's funny because, like, when it comes to weights for terminal tackle, like, really, when somebody says, like, terminal tackle in general, I think of hooks, weights, and jigs. You know what I mean? Typically. Or, and even, like, specialty hooks, like belly-weighted swim bait hooks. I'm sure there's none of that stuff in the BKK box, right?
Not weighted.
Yeah, nothing that's weighted, anything like that.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, the organization that's in there with the built-in, the individual little boxes themselves.
Yeah.
So you can take all of your 5/0s, your 4/0s, your 3/0s, your 2/0s, and your 1/0s, your EWGs. Yep. Guess what? I use them all.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, it depends on the application. But yeah, that's pretty badass.
Let me just make sure. Nope. They do have weighted in here.
Really? They do? That's awesome.
Yep. They got Permalock weighted. 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, 4/0.
Shut up.
That's right. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Oh, and 5/0.
Oh, that is badass, man.
Yep.
John Carter's asking what the cost is on that. I like. So fully rigged, like fully outfitted like that was about $300, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there are options.
$300.
Like you can change up what it is that you're ordering. I like also the fact that like I think it was Aggressively Average Anglers that even said they're like the little individual boxes that hold the hooks. Like it's just like a plastic hinge that's on there. So if it wears and it breaks, you can replace them so easily.
Yeah.
And they're cheap.
It's just the little things, they have, like you said, they have that little head, they have the little pull tab. So you're not trying to get, each one has a pull tab that folds down to easily pull it out and whatnot. So I'm excited to use this to get on the boat and kind of, streamline my organization with the hooks a little bit.
And I think that this is something that probably would appeal to somebody with a boat versus a kayak and a bank angler. Like, sure. I think that if you're a bank angler, space is at the absolute premium because you've basically got a backpack. So you got to figure out what it is that you're throwing. Do you need every single one of those options? Are there any trebles in there?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
You have 2s, 5s, 6s, or 2 4s, 5s, and 6s, and 8s.
That's badass. That's great.
So I'll just give you a quick of the types that are in here. So you got drop shots.
Yep.
You have from number 4s to 2-aughts. You have long shank drop shots from 2 to 3-aught. Like I said, you have the permalocks up to 5-aught, as well as the permalock weighted up to 5-aught.
That's awesome.
You have your offset worms, the wide gaps. Obviously, you have a ton of different sizes of those. You have heavy cover flipping hooks.
Yep.
From 2-aught to 5-aught. Offset worms from 2-aught to 6-aught. And then you have, like I said, you have your trebles I just talked about. And then you have offset worm round bend from 1-aught to 5-aught.
Nice.
And that's what came in mind. So, what am I missing that I typically use? Wacky,
Yep.
My wacky hooks, and I occasionally I'll use a Nico hook. I tend to just use wacky hooks with my Nico rigs.
I would too, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the one thing I'm missing out of here is Nikos. Like you said, I'm probably gonna where they put that stupid armband in there. I'm probably gonna get a box there and just stick it in there.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, these
because you're obviously going to be wearing that armband to every single event that you go to, representing.
Yeah, exactly. Representing.
Obviously.
Representing. And it's going to be like the live strong thing when everyone's like when it was like a movement, what I mean? So I'm gonna make the
BKK movement,
the BKK movement with the armband. I'm gonna start doing a hashtag on Instagram.
100%.
So yeah, man, it's a good system. I'm pumped for it, and I'll when I continue to use it, we'll kind of come back to it and talk about it.
I'm stoked, dude. That's awesome. That because I've considered it too, and that's what it was. A lot of it was one of the things. The way that Jeff and Paul had talked about it. They're like, it's not exactly a 3,600 box. It's not a 3,700 box. Like it's not gonna fit your crate.
Yeah.
Ideally, like it is an oddball size. Although it seems like the pros outweigh the cons.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And you're not giving it a valued review unless you find there's going to be something that you don't like. And like I said, it's a little the box is deeper than I'd like it to be, but the way they have it set up, it has to be that deep. And I wish there was wacky hooks in it. Those are the two things I find right off the rip.
Yep.
But that's okay because I have a bajillion fucking 6 cents wacky hooks still sitting in my fucking garage.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
good there.
There you go. Dude, that is badass. I love that. Well, all right, let's go ahead. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back around, guys. And what we're going to talk about next are 2 questions that were brought up by listeners of the show that we neglected because of all the twists and turns of last week's roundtable conversation. We're going to go ahead and talk about it. They involve a couple of things, bank angling and BFS. And we're going to talk about those, guys, coming up in our next segment before we wrap things up. I don't think, was there anything else we needed? There was no FTG this week. We got Gear of the Week all set. We've been tipped in every single angle possible.
Gross.
It's all good. Let's go ahead. We'll take a short break. We'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. It's just another episode of Jigs and Bigs. Here we are. We're mid-March. We're literally the day before St. Patrick's Day as we record this right now. Do you guys do anything crazy for St. Patrick's Day? Over the Brown House? Yeah, I mean...
No, it's just crazy because we're almost like... Between the two of us, we're almost like 100% Irish. Yeah. I mean, look at Emma, dude.
Yeah, really. They don't
about as Irish as they get. So it's... No, surprisingly, no. But don't forget, Bobby.
Yep.
Up until about a year and a half ago, I thought I was mostly German. I thought I was mostly German, and it flipped. I'm actually 90% Irish.
It explains a lot. It explains the whiskey collection. The whiskey collection alone. All comes in, that's terrible. I'm going to get sued.
And my wife is like fully Irish. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. aside from living in the city where the second largest St. Patrick's Day parade in the world happens,
right.
or maybe in the
road
country,
race too.
It's next weekend, man. So I am looking to get the fuck out of town and fish the entire weekend. In fact, I think my wife is working both Saturday and Sunday night. And we when we bought our house, we're like not far off the parade route at all.
Does your neighborhood get fucked up from it?
It's so fucked up. People fucking park wherever the fuck they want. It is the worst. Like, we thought it was going to be cute, and we were going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to have everybody over to our house. The only thing we do for St. Patty's Day is, in my crock pot right now, my wife has a corned beef going that is the best I've ever had. It is so good. And she uses 2 ingredients to make it fantastic: garlic and beer. That's it. And just oh man, it is so good.
Is it Guinness?
No, she actually, I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, I acquire beers all the time, and I'm really not into pounding beers so much. I like a lot of beers. It's not that I don't like beers. Like, especially with the big IPAs, it kind of kills me to drink 300 calories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
they've been sitting heavy in my belly lately, dude. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm struggling to bring that one down.
It's tough. I'm like, so I mean, we'll get like, I'll take like out in the cooler. I had a bunch of Sam Adams New American Light that they had. Which is fine. Like, I've been using beers to cook way more than I do to fucking drink.
Sure.
Which is just crazy. And this one, we had a last summer we had picked up, we had gone out somewhere, we filled the cooler, and our plan when we go out and we do like some of these like day-long get-togethers with my family and shit, where everybody's just drinking nonstop, is we'd buy a 6-pack or a 12-pack of like what we want to be drinking. Like, might be an IPA, it might be something fucking crazy for me, and then we'll throw like another 6 or a 12-pack in the cooler of Athletic Brewing, non-alcoholic. So this way, we still have like, we can switch them out. You know what I mean? We're like, we're not getting that fucking hammered. Of course, generally,
your boy's on edibles anyway.
So I could be drinking ice water and still be fucking having letting the good times roll.
Bobby, for next week, right? We got to put in a note somewhere. I'm not going to tell it today because I got to be in the right mind frame.
Yep.
But I need to tell the story of when I cooked a whiskey beef stew.
Oh yeah, dude. Yes. Okay.
I need to tell that story because it's fucking funny where I don't know if I need to tell. I don't know if I want to tell it because I'm afraid like DCF will show up at my house if they hear this.
Well, it's funny, man. I kind of blew this up on that Instagram live, but I did it on the live anyway. I'm gonna fucking say it now.
Yeah.
Bobby Roast Beef is writing a cookbook for camp cooking.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of fucking really great ideas that are going, and one of the recipes that I'm putting in there is one of my favorite fucking meals ever. Again, keep in mind, I work in bars. Bangers and mash is one of my favorite things ever. It's so good. But I made this onion gravy, and I used one of those Sam Adams New American Lights in there. And it was so fucking good. And of course, Holly's busting my chop. She's like, oh, I'm sure Delaney slept like a fucking champ that night. Jesus Christ. I'm like, yeah, she's a teenager. Of course she slept great. What are you talking about? But I'm like, it's just a mess. But it was, that is a project that I'm working on. I'm going to be shooting a bunch of video content, making these recipes. So I might actually, depending on what happens weather-wise, I might even record some stuff while I'm in Michigan, a couple of recipes on there for shits and giggles, which is going to be great. So like I told everybody that I camp with regularly and stuff. I'm like, I was like, don't bring any food because there's going to be plenty. I'll make a few different things and there'll be plenty of stuff, and it'll be, packaging things up for leftovers and all that kind of stuff. But so that's one of the things that I'm working on. But before we get too crazy into anything, there are 2 questions that came in.
Yes.
And before we talk about this, I do want to mention that, every podcast, really ever, not just fishing podcasts, but everybody has like a, letters from listeners or a mailbag or like whatever they want to call it, something like that. And I mean, we get comments and stuff from jig heads. We get info, DMs, and all kinds of stuff that people will send to us asking questions, and looking either for input or feedback or anything like that. And we're all about it, but it needs a name. Like it needs a name. And I was thinking about calling it
The Beef Box.
Oh, God.
Just keeping in mind with the tone of this show. I don't know if that's perfect. I'm not married to it, but if somebody has a better suggestion, I'm all ears. By all means, I am 100% all ears if you guys have a suggestion. So get in the DMs, shoot us an email at jigsandbigs413@gmail.com. Text us at the hotline for Jesus Christ, I gotta look it up. Text us at the hotline. I'll put the spot in right here.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one with the impeccable taste in fishing podcasts. Bobby Roast Beef here with a little call to action for all Jigs and Bigs listeners. We're opening up our hotline to you. Now you can call us to sound off about almost anything at 413-324-8519. Want to submit someone for our FTG segment? Call us at 413-324-8519. Care to maybe suggest a topic for Just the Tip or Bait of the Week? Call us at 413-324-8519. Maybe you just want to give us or anyone else a little shout out on the show, or you want to suggest a guest for the beef seat. You guessed it. Call us at 413-324-8519. The Jigs and Bigs hotline is there for you to leave a message with us 24/7. Just call 413-324-8519. Also, you can check that number in the notes of this podcast.
All right, you can text us, or let us know what you think for that, that segment. What should we call it? Let's give it something interesting, something that makes some sense. Do you have any ideas off the top of your head, Joe? Like anything that you're like, I kind of think this would be cool.
No, but I'm gonna think about it now.
Go for it. Go for it. And maybe we'll do a little bit of a contest. Like maybe we'll give out. Maybe we'll send somebody a piece of merch. Something cool,
piece of merch, and I'll throw out some fishing shit. So whoever wins, whatever, I'll throw in some maybe something nice in there. We'll make it a contest.
Yeah, we'll do a little bit of a contest, and what you can do is you can submit your suggestion either via Instagram DM to Jigs and Bigs, the Jigs and Bigs Instagram account. You can message us on Facebook. Actually, you know what? I'm going to post a reel with the no. I want this to be for the listeners.
There you go.
I want this to be for the listeners, so nobody else is going to know about this on social media except for the listeners of this show. You can also submit on Spotify via a comment right there. If you listen to the show on Spotify, almost half of our audience does. You guys can do that. And then Pat Martin says right here, okay, it's for a mailbag name, right? Yes, it is. It is. And so if you want it, again, we want the creativity. You guys know the flavor of this show. So if you want to play off of words like
sack, go for it.
That was loud. Everybody in my house was like, what the fuck? But that's the idea. So, and it's not going to be something we're going to do every single week because I know that it's like FTG, we don't always have somebody submit an FTG, but this is a way because we love at Jigs and Bigs, we love engaging with you guys. That's what it's all about. I have been rambling. You guys want to know what the fuck these questions are, and I want to talk about them. So let's go ahead and talk about them. Let's start off with one. And this one, I knew that this one was going to be an interesting one, and I definitely want Joe's take on it. But this one comes from the one and only Eli Self, _Eli, ELI_self over on Instagram. We both had the opportunity to meet Eli at the Columbus Expo. What a great dude. He asked the question. He goes, is BFS worth it or just stick with spinning rods? So I'm going to say this. BFS, is it worth it? That's a little bit subjective. It depends on a handful of factors. Number one, like, what is it that you're looking to spend? A lot of people get into BFS and they immediately start thinking like,
well, I need the biggest Shimano. I need a Calcutta BFS is immediately, and I can't deal with anything but the Aldebaran. And if I'm not using a top tier Daiwa, I just don't want it.
You know what I mean? You don't have to go that deep right in. You can start with, there's a lot of really, really good reels that are relatively affordable. You can look at like Cast King. You can look at Nico. Nico has, last I checked, it's been a while since I've looked, the Suyanara, the Dark Wolf U50. That's one that I'm using right now, and I love it. And there's a lot of different options. As far as rod options go, I'm realizing that the world is sort of your oyster. Now, there's a couple of things about BFS that make it BFS. First off, there are two different worlds of BFS. There's what you would call like power BFS, and then there's true ultralight BFS, bait finesse stuff. So if you're somebody that's like, I want to throw my Ned rigs and my wackies on a bait caster, that's your power BFS, because it's more of a conventional like size, weight. And when I say conventional, that means even like conventional finesse, you know what I mean? So like you're maybe only going down as light as an 1/8 ounce, something like that, like 1/8 ounce Ned rigs, 1/8 ounce jigs, 1/8 ounce, or you're using like I said, wacky rigs or something, or Nico rigs, stuff like that. What are the advantages of using BFS? Number one, efficiency is crazy. Like crazy efficient. Per cast, I feel like you are able to make way more casts with a BFS setup in a specific set amount of time than you are with a spinning combo. 100%. Does it mean that you can't catch the fish with a spinning combo? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And then there's this I find is a little bit more toward like me, is that I like to avoid spinning combos simply because if I get on a bite and I'm holding a spinning rod all day, I am going to feel it the next day. Just because of the way that the hand holds that rod, and depending on the I guess the presentation too. Like if I'm working a fluke on a spinning combo all day, I know it. If I throw that same weightless fluke on my BFS, it's a different story. Right. So I think for me, it was 100% worth it. That and the fact that it's super fun. Like now when I fish, when I'm out fishing, like on the bank, I exclusively bring my BFS combo. That's it. It's shorter than any of my spinning rods that I use. It's one of the lightest of all my rods. I'm using a 6.5 or a 6.6 light rod, and I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Like, and just for reference, like my drop shot rod is a 7'3" medium light, and my all around spinning combo is a 7 foot medium. Like most people would definitely utilize that 7 foot medium. I can't throw anything at like a 16th ounce effectively. Like just the rod is too stiff. It's an extra fast. Yeah. So like that, I'm using more for like anything like an 1/8 up to like. Realistically, like I've thrown 3/8 ounce baits on that, and it's been okay. So that is kind of my take on it. Now, Joe, what's your take?
So I think my take on it is really personal preference.
That comes in too, yeah.
Yeah, so with like you and I have two totally different takes on it. Like me, I'm not a big B. I've tried it, and it just like I felt it just wasn't for me.
Yep.
And that's okay. It's just it's kind of the way I do it. Like me, for instance, I felt like when I was using it and I was hooking in, I felt like I was losing a bunch of fish. Like I just couldn't poke that fucking hook into the fish the way I wanted to. I think there are places for BFS. I think especially when you're like you said it well with the power BFS versus a true BFS. When you get into that, 1/30 seconds type stuff. Very rarely do I throw anything quite that light.
Yeah, that's light.
When I do, I have certain spinning combos for it, but that's where like BFS truly shines. That's when but at the same time, in my personal opinion, that's great for those folks that are going for like the multi-species stuff. They're going for the perch, the crappie, the trout. Like catch a trout on a casting setup's awesome. You know what I mean?
It is.
But for me, like I'm looking at it from the tournament standpoint. It's something I know. It's something I've been doing when I talk spinning. So long story short, I prefer spinning rods. I did try the BFS thing. It just wasn't for me when it comes to bass fishing. I think it definitely has places in the multi-species world. And then when I did try to use it, I was using it more in the power BFS type setup, not like the true BFS, because I don't throw shit that is that light.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Is it a cool thing to try out? Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's fun.
I caught, a couple years ago, when I was trying it out, I did catch one of my biggest tournament fish of the season up here with that setup.
Oh yeah.
But I was throwing a wacky rig. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
yeah,
it was but I just felt I saw myself losing a lot of fish with it, and I just didn't want. I have so many, priced out and expensive spinning rod combos. I mean, like probably have like 15 of them. You know what I mean? And I wasn't willing to continue to buy rods to see if it worked. The reel was fine. The reel was cool.
Oh, for sure.
But that rod, I felt like it just wasn't, sticking the hook like it should be, and I wasn't willing to continue to try different ones.
That was that last combo that you had bought, right?
Yeah.
And
yep.
Yeah.
And honestly, I gave it to Jeremiah. That's like Jeremiah's first casting setup, and because he likes to throw that lighter stuff. And I was like, perfect, for sure, dude. Here you go. Yeah. Here you go. And he's really been like, I'm really trying to get the bait casting thing down. So he's been out. The last couple days he hasn't been because he bird nested it so bad that I had to undo it and like change it. But he had been doing awesome. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It was he just hit something in the yard and it caused it to blow up. So I got to reline it. But anyway, so that's like his. And I told him, I was like, dude, you gotta take care of it. Like, this is not a cheap setup.
It's quality.
It's a Corrado BFS reel and then like $150 rod. You know what I mean? So, but he likes to throw the light stuff. Big Josh is his favorite bait in the world to, on like a 1/16 or a 3/16 fucking, head. That's his like favorite thing to throw. So I was like, this will be perfect for you. And then once you get comfortable on that, like, dude, start grabbing my bait, my casting setuts, and there you go.
Dude.
Just fuck up your own first.
I will say, I'm glad you mentioned baitcaster, BFS, and backlashes, because I've had this question come in previously. But while we're on the topic, I'll talk about that. People have asked me, they're like, "Oh, does it backlash less?" No, you will definitely backlash more often.
Yes.
Simply because the tendency, if you're like most bass anglers, they're like sending it. And like when you're casting with BFS, it's just literally just flick of the wrist. It's lots of times what people will see when I fish. I'll be, on the front of the boat, and I'll have the rod my arm tucked right up against my stomach, and I'll just circle the bait and just flip like that. I won't move my arm at all, and I'll just send it. My father's actually noticed. He's like, "How the hell do you cast so far with that?" And I'm just like, it's a lot. But the thing is, anything at all that interferes with that, if you're not riding that puppy with your thumb, like, it will backlash. And I will say, I've yet to have a backlash where I've been like, well, this rod's done. And yesterday I thought I had one that was that bad, and I was like, oh no, we're good. You just pull some line, you're good. It comes out pretty easy.
It's one thing people need to consider, you're obviously using much thinner line, much smaller line than you typically would. Whether it's if you're using a fluorocarbon or a monofilament,
Yep.
and you backlash that thing and you kink that line, you're much more prone to damaging it.
Yep.
To the point where it can snap within that reel or whatever on you. So you might, as you're learning, you may go through more, and you backlash, you might go through more line than you typically would, because that line tends to damage so much easier because it's so much thinner. When it comes to braid, if you're using a super thin braid, I think on mine, I had 6 or 8 pound braid on it.
Yep. That's even lighter than I'm throwing.
Yeah. So I believe it was 8 pound. I believe it was 8 pound braid. Good luck getting a knot out of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I need like a telescope, to look at it. And even with the friggin' glass, it's just, I've been lucky. Yeah. I've been lucky to where it wasn't too bad, but like that one that he got, it was just, it was one of those ones that it was so bad, Bobby. And like, he tried to fix it. He did really good trying to, like, I taught him how to take it out. He sat there, I wasn't home, but he's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I really tried, but it was at the point where the line went up under the spool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, inside. And I was like, dude, it's fine. But yeah, so you're going to go through, if as you're learning, you're going to go through more line. You need to keep that into consideration, because it damages the monofluoro damages easier. And the braid is just, if you knot it up, it could just be a real pain in the ass to get out.
It's funny. There have been times where I have had like, a knot that I'm just like, let's pull it as tight as we can. We'll just fucking keep going. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be, it's I think that's the thing with BFS. Like, it's a lot of fun. I think that you got to ask yourself, what is it that you're getting out of it? Where BFS really shines is in high pressure water situations. So if you're fishing a body of water and you're like, holy shit, these fish have seen this 1/2 ounce jackhammer a million times, and you can downsize and show them something else. I'll give you another example of another presentation that really was like, now I throw this often enough. The multi-species scavenger hunt, right? Like, a lot of the species that are on there, like, I have my own theory of like how I tackle the scavenger hunt, and it's primarily like doing your research in advance to know the body of water, and then just downsize your presentation to invite more bites from a variety of species. So like it was Chrissy fishing. She had gotten me on throwing the beetle spin. Yeah. And I mean, it's a great presentation. It gets hammered by like everything, but these were like 1/32 ounce jig heads, like the stock ones that come with it, super duper tiny. And I was like, I'm like, I had to throw it on my medium light combo, which I generally use on, for the most part, like when I'm out, like in the kayak or on the boat, that's generally my drop shot combo,
Sure.
And I'm like, because it's my drop shot combo, I like to have a combo dedicated to a drop shot, just because there's more prep that goes in with it. It's 2 knots and it's double the knots, essentially. And I want to have this set up where I'm good to go, and I started using the beetle spin, and I would throw it on this and it would be great, but it was still a little bit wonky, like the mechanics. It was a little bit too fast of a rod too. It's extra fast. So I'm like, I need something with a little bit more give. It's either got to have less power to be able to load up where it loads up, or I need something that's more moderate so that it's got more bend. It's a little bit more whippy. And I wanted to try out BFS just to try it. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go with it, And each combo that you put together, like, you're going to find that there's a sweet spot. Like the way that you fish in combination with the mechanics and I guess the metrics of that rod and the way the characteristics it has, you're going to find, like, I have found my sweet spot really where I'm just like, I'm amazed with what I can do. Like, this rod kind of tops out at about 3/16 of an ounce. But I could fish a quarter, and I probably have when you factor a plastic and everything. But about that 3/16 of an ounce is about like as heavy as I'm going to throw.
Yeah.
The 3/32 of an ounce is like the sweet spot for me. It's just under 1/8. Some of my favorite micro jigs are easy to find in that size, and they're small enough, especially like the jigs with the skirts. They're heavy enough to cast great, but that skirt adds a nice little bit of resistance as it falls. So the rate is a little bit slower than like a standard jig head. With like a paddle tail or something like that. So I found that like is generally that 3/30 seconds to 1/8 is like ideal. 16th ounce, generally not a problem, but it depends on the style that I'm fishing. So I would just say, like, if the best thing to do, find somebody that's into it, that's willing to let you try that stuff and see what you think. But no, think in advance. Like, what is it that you want to do with it? Are you looking at throwing these super duper light lures, or are you basically looking for something else to throw a Ned rig on? Because it might not necessarily be I'll tell you the big thing that it was, and the first lures that I bought with my, when I got my BFS, were these like micro jerk baits. Because it's that motion where you're using the rod all day, where if I'm holding the reel versus holding just the rod, I find I have less irritation and carpal tunnel on my arms.
Okay.
That's what I think it is for me. So, all right. So our next question, and this one comes down to the bank anglers right here. It's Brandon from New Jersey. He comments and he says, from the bank, what are you looking for that might give you a sign of a good spot?
I like this one. This is actually a really good question because it's not something I really thought. So, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
All right. So I'm thinking of three things. So it's going to depend. So, not so much. So on the bank, when you're going down, look at the grade of the land or the bank that you're about to fish. If that thing's going down, chances are it continues to go down the water. So that gives you access to ledges or, a little bit deeper water versus maybe a little bit shallow. But then it's the same way when I'm looking on my boat. I'm looking for structure. I'm looking for cover.
Yep.
I'm looking for grass. I'm looking for points. Fish a point. If you can find it, so think about it in the way I'm going to look for it in a boat. Okay, so I have the secondary point right here with this cove and this access to, more shallow water. You're basically just looking at it from the outside in.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Yep. So it's just like inside out. You know what I mean? That's me. That's how I'm going to look at it. I'm gonna. In the summer, if I'm fishing from the bank, I'm looking for lily pads. Lily pads are typically, at least around here, up against the shore. So I'm going to fish those. Again, the exposed grass, the coontails, all that stuff. That's how I'm looking at docks, down trees. It's all the same shit I'm looking at from the boat.
Yep, just the other way around.
Yep.
There are a couple of things that I'm looking for. So when I'm fishing, first off, I want to share a bit of knowledge that my father passed down to me, and a bunch of other people that I fished with. And it sucks when you see this sign that it's a good fishing spot.
Trash.
Look for wrappers of fucking plastics or containers of fucking night crawlers. Pick it up. Get rid of it. Don't leave it there.
Please.
Yeah. But that is an indication that there's something about that spot that's been there. And this is without looking at any technology, no maps, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you just know that people have fished there. Another dead giveaway, like when you see like fucking lures in a tree.
Yeah.
That's a good fucking indication.
Dams and spillways.
Dams and spillways, dams especially, are fantastic.
Yep.
Lots of times that's going to be the deepest point. So even without looking at a map, topo map, you can rest assured that generally that dam is going to be the deepest spot in the lake. You want to look for water inlets. So if you have a stream that's coming in, also anywhere where the water will be more oxygenated. So like if you're fishing like a pond or something that's got a fountain in it, hook it up.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. The other one too is like down trees. Laydowns are awesome because I'm a jig guy, So I will find a laydown tree from the bank and I will throw and just slip a jig. And this is where it's really, really nice to practice your pitching in advance so that you can pitch that jig so it just kisses the surface of the water, slides in, and then just just drag it slowly, creep it over every single little limb that's going around, anything like that. Anytime I see rocks going into the water, that's another real good one.
Yeah.
But I think my home run is especially if you're fishing during the day with overhead sun, bluebird skies, and you're on the bank, look for those tree branches that go out and provide shade.
Yeah.
And then
that's a good one.
Make a cast that's parallel to the bank away from it. And the last thing I'm going to tell you as a bank angler, walk lightly. And for somebody of my stature, that is not easy. Walk lightly and, make your casts before you get right on that spot. So if you see something coming up, you want to be as stealthy as you can and flip some kind of a presentation right in there. It might be really helpful in some of these situations to get good at skipping a bait. So like, let's say you're fishing a wacky rig, or like a Texas rig, like a stick bait or something like that. Flip this sucker in there from a distance so that it scoots out to where you think those fish are. And when that bait starts to fall, you're more likely to get munched than if you're right on top of it. And they can kind of sense that you're there. Because while especially bass fishing, and I think that's what Brandon's talking about here primarily, bass aren't really like, you can talk your ass off. It's the low frequency on the ground that they're going to detect before anything else. Like, you could fucking be talking your ass off, but if you walk as if you're trying to not be spotted, sneaking in or out of something, like that's the way to do it. And also what helps too is like packing really, really light. Try and do it with 1 to 3 rods maximum, There is something interesting here. John Hagen says, he goes, always look for something different. What is different? Wood, rock, transition. Look for something fishy. Is there bait moving around in the area? Are there gulls and fish eating ducks gathered around? Not eating the ducks, but the gulls and eating ducks. Ducks that are eating.
That's something I look for.
Gulls that are eating ducks?
Tells you, yes. Yep.
Also, John says again, also put in the footwork. You go to walk away from where the meat hunters go. Yeah, that's fair. That's really good. That's all really good. So hopefully, Brandon, that works out. But I would say 100%. These are all really, really good ideas. So with that said, go and fucking catch them because you're going to fucking smoke
catch them.
Yep. I'm telling you, I love bank fishing. I especially love bank fishing in urban environments. At some point this week, I got to try to get out and fish the Hoyo canals.
There you go.
You know what I should do? I should do that on Saturday during a road race. Throw some tasty beverages in my backpack because for some reason Hoyo turns into Las Vegas this weekend.
It does. It's the craziest thing.
It really does. That might.
I've only been once. I was like, holy fuck,
dude! It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's not rare to see some college girl absolutely unloading her stomach contents in a porta-john. It's just fucking. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What do we got? Pat says, are cormorants getting shot by the dozens?
There's so many of those fucking things up. I remember Sean would tell us about that up in St. Lawrence River.
Yeah.
I think he talked about the St. Lawrence River as well. It might have been
there too. Yeah.
And he was not kidding. And you can smell. You know when you're coming up to an island or whatever with a bunch of them because that's all you can smell. It's fucking gross. But anyway,
I remember he fished Mille Lacs, and he was like, "It is just cormorant shit everywhere."
Yeah. Yep.
Cormorant is actually the name of a really nice fucking BFS reel from Nico.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice fucking BFS reel. But what a show. So I will say this much, and I'm gonna share this, Pat, because it's fucking good. But I told him, I said email it to the show because I will forget 100%. This is going on. He says for a name for the show,
Uncle Frank's Fishy Sack.
And for that, we thank you. That is good stuff right there. He says, I was referring to looking for something different. I mean, that's pretty different. Oh, yeah. Our cormorant's getting shot by the dozens. Well, look out for Sean the Fisherman's truck because that's possible. That's possible that's
exactly.
Maybe duck if that's a situation. Duck! Oh, God. It's fucking too early for me to be this loopy. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I would say get out there and catch some fish. So let's go ahead and wrap this puppy up. I thought this was going to be a short show, man. We had ourselves one hell of a conversation. I have to head out the door. So we're going to go ahead and call this one right here. Thank you guys so much for checking out Jigs and Bigs. As always, if you like the show, give us a rating on Spotify, give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate it. It means the world to us when you guys give us some feedback like that. We absolutely love it. Things are happening. John Carter says, no, 3 more hours. I'll tell you what, John Carter, you can Venmo me at Bobby Roast Beef. Venmo me $400 and I will fucking be here for the rest. I'll call Delaney House and say, hey.
Sorry, guys, no Irish trivia tonight. I'm a moron.
You guys are the greatest. I have a trip to plan. Todd Sefton and I have been all in on planning. We've been sharing videos back and forth of St. Clair in the spring. And I'm telling you, dude, we're gonna hammer it. It's going to be an amazing trip regardless, but I am so excited to fish that body of water. It is legendary. With all that said, everybody, I hope you have yourself a great week. Remember, things are starting to open up around here. It's an absolute huge invitation to go ahead and make sure if you're posting fishy shit on social media, tag Jigs and Bigs on any platform you're on. We want to know about it. We want to give you guys a little bit of love on that platform. Bobby Roast Beef is now on Snapchat. I don't know why. I decided, screw it. I'm just going to, because it's more for trivia promotion, but I don't know. I'm just having fun with filters because I'm a fucking loser, you know? I think, Joe, you're on there too, aren't you?
I haven't been on that shit.
You might have popped in because you were on my contacts, and I was like,
I haven't been on that shit in years.
Yeah, it's
I don't even think it's on my phone.
Yeah, I just re-downloaded it because some of my trivia players were like, how come you don't advertise on Snapchat? How come you don't do, your stories that you do on Instagram on there? I was like, you know what? Fuck it. That's a good idea. That's a damn good idea. And then I irritate my kids by sending like stupid freaking like baby filters and shit like that while I look like an infant. Yeah. Oh, it's so stupid. I'm going to actually grab some of those and share them on the Jigs and Bigs Instagram just so you guys can see it. I got to hustle. We will see you guys. Have yourselves a good one. And don't forget, like we always say,
tits and ass, smoke some grass.